Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Debo's Den. Today I'm actually going to be telling you about the difference between a startup and a service business or even an SME. The thing is, it's about growth. So I've given you the expo right out of the bat. And if you don't know what expo is, learn about it later. But before I go ahead, please, it's important. I would love you to actually subscribe for this event, for this episode, and all the further episodes of Debo's Den. So hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell button such that whenever new episode of Debo's Den comes out, you actually get notified on YouTube. Let's listen. It's just important to note that the startup design and the SME design are different. And if you want to get funding and raise funds for a company, usually it is easier to raise funds for a startup than it is to raise funds for an SME. So a lot of people come to meet me, hey, can you actually help us raise funds? Yes, we can at GetFundedAfrica. However, it is easier for us to raise funds for a fast-growing company or a company that has an idea that it can leverage for fast growth as against a company that intends to grow organically over time. As I said, nothing wrong with both models, but it's just that most of the funds and the way the venture capital industry is developed and positioned, it actually favors more of startups. So I'm actually going to tell you in the next, in the next stage, as to why companies actually, particularly venture capital companies, prefer to invest in startups than they prefer to invest in small and medium scale businesses. So it's important to note that there are actually a lot of funds available out there for investment. And I did mention that most venture capital firms prefer to actually invest in startups than investing in SMEs, whether it's service or even product. It's a bit of a misnomer, right? The reality is that for a startup, maybe it's just an idea or what have you. But for an SME, it's likely that it's a service business, for example, maybe an advertising business or another service business, professional services, accounting, or whatever. And basically, it's growing, it's providing services, and it's growing organically, right? You would expect that VCs, venture capital investors, would prefer to invest in that one that is bringing in regular returns and all. But no, they usually would prefer to take a high risk. To understand this, let me explain. So venture capital firms are companies that take money from a set of people or a set of organizations, and then they tell them, these funds that you have given to me, over the course of the next, for example, 5 years, I plan to give it back to you maybe 3 times, 4 times, 10 times or more what you actually gave to me or provided to me. So what it means is that the venture capital guys have collected money from some set of people. Usually it's pension funds, endowments, or family offices or high net worth individuals. So the venture capital firms will collect money from these people. These people are typically called limited partners or LPs. The venture capital firm itself is called a GP. So GP for general partner, LP for limited partner. So the venture capital firm, the GP, collects money from this set of people, as I mentioned, endowments, pensions, high net worth individuals, or their family offices, and then uses those funds and invests in companies for a 5-year, usually 5 years, but it could extend to 7 years, maybe even 10 years. and then says the funds that it collected, it's going to multiply those funds. Now, just having and taking those funds and putting it in companies that just grow organically, step by step, over a period, doesn't actually give it enough returns for it to reach like 10 times the original amount. So what that means is that even though you might have a service business that is growing or doing well, venture capital firms would likely not invest in your company because it is not growing fast enough. So that therein lies the secret. If you want to be able to fundraise, then you have to be able to build a company that can scale and grow very quickly. One of the best ways and one of the best methods of scaling a company is to develop what is referred to as a SaaS model. SaaS can stand for software as a service or a subscription as a service model. And I'll go into that a little bit later. So basically, for your startup, you need to build it and build it with scale and growth in mind. And with that scale and growth, it is then easier to actually find and get investors to fund the company and fund its growth. So I talked about a SaaS model, and I'm just using this as a good example. I mentioned that a startup is different from a service business or an SME, and the difference is growth, right? So the question then becomes, what level of growth do you actually need to be deemed a startup? This question, I think, has been answered best by Paul Graham of Y Combinator. The founder, he set up Y Combinator, one of the most popular accelerator venture capital, accelerator investor companies. Now, according to Paul Graham, he says, and you can read this on the screen, so there you have it, right? Essentially, the key thing is that a startup is one that is growing quickly. And if you have pretty much like a SaaS model, which infuses technology into what you're doing, you're able to say that, okay, growth is actually going to be somewhere in between 2% and 7 or 10% per week. Now, note something. There's this chart that I like to share this chart with people, that actually talks about your weekly growth, how it impacts your monthly growth, and how it actually impacts your annual growth. This is a table that you will find useful. So that question of how fast should a startup really be growing, you have it. Now, in GetFundedAfrica, let's use us as an example. We started off by trying to show that we actually have a market for the services that we offer, the services and the products that we offer. And then we built out a SaaS model or a subscription model for people to subscribe for some of the services that we actually offer. And then using that subscription model, right, we've then kind of like built a plan and have leveraged that plan to grow the company. Our own target is a 7% growth per week. So the 7% growth on a weekly basis, that transforms into like a 21% monthly growth. And using the table that I just shared with you, you can also see our annual growth. This is how we've actually grown the company very, very quickly, very, in a very straightforward manner. And so in the same vein, if you're a company that offers something, what you need to do is then look for a way, not just to make customers pay for that thing, but actually to make customers pay on a regular basis over a period of time. That way, you've transformed your company more into a subscription as a service company. You're able to even plan your revenues in advance. And most importantly, you're able to grow very, very quickly and raise lots of money because they're investors looking for your exact type of business. So I mentioned a SaaS model. So let me just go into that a little bit. A SaaS model is a kind of like subscription as a service. I prefer the subscription as a service, but many people would say it's more of software as a service. I say subscription because sometimes it's more about your business model, not necessarily what it is that you're offering. So for many companies, this SaaS model came more from technology or even software companies, which is why it was popularized by them. However, it doesn't matter. You could be an agri-tech company or a health tech company or whatever, and you can actually follow the same subscription as a service model. Now, what is involved in a subscription as a service? What it means is that instead of people paying just on a per transaction basis, they're paying a flat monthly fee, which usually means that for the consumer, it is cheaper for them, right? They're paying a flat monthly fee. So usually it's going to be cheaper than if they were doing it per transaction. However, in addition to that, the benefit to you is that your job becomes easier because you literally, as a startup, focus on growing your recurring revenue. So you know that when you acquire a customer, let's forget churn, meaning those that will drop off after a while. But generally speaking, it means that when you acquire a consumer and you deliver the services that the customer actually needs, every month they actually pay a fixed amount. Because of that fixed amount, you can actually plan and project your revenues and by extension, your expenses and even your growth into the future. So your job just becomes to acquire the people that are going to be subscribing to your service or whatever it is that you do. And by acquiring those customers, you can grow the company and deliver fantastic services. Now note, I said deliver fantastic services. If all you're doing is acquiring customers, they start paying, people will vote with their feet. If you're not delivering what you're supposed to deliver in terms of the service, they're going to leave. So it's important that you create a company, right, that delivers a service that people can pay for on a monthly basis. One of the ideas, and I'd like to use a live example here, is in the agri space. There are several companies. One in particular is called Farm Fresh. I hope I remember the name correctly. And basically, what they do is that they create like a meal kit kind of company. They would say, pay us a fixed amount, and every day we'll deliver your breakfast, lunch, and dinner to you based on a specific menu. So you go to their website or their app, you click on the meals that you want, and they'll deliver it to you every day. And so morning, afternoon, evening, they'll deliver the meals to you. So maybe it might mean they do one delivery and then you just warm the food, or if it's even cold food, again, depending on what you have selected, then they deliver that to you. But the beauty is you get to just make one payment. And with that one payment, they deliver to you every single day or every week, again, depending on what it is that you have ordered. Now, what have they done? In truth, this company is an agricultural company. They're selling food, but they've been able to create a SaaS model around the delivery of meals. So you're paying one amount for the food that you will get either on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis. And basically, it comes to you, but you are going to be paying monthly for this service or for this product. What they've done is that they've taken food and turned it into a subscription basis. If you're a farmer, for example, right, it means that you could actually create a subscription service around the product of your farm. And there are several companies that do similar things. So again, basically, SaaS is more about creating a subscription service around what you do. There are people that sell clothes, tailors, if you use that word. However, they can say, look, I'm going to create a box of clothes. And in this box, literally, for example, we're going to put in 5 clothes in there, and you can try them on, and the ones that you don't want, or just pick the ones that you want, and with the ones that you pick, maybe you're supposed to pick 2, send the rest back to us. And so that also is a subscription service on farming, on fashion, because basically you pay a fixed amount, and every single month you get a set of new designs or a set of clothes sent to you. There are opportunities out there. There are lots of ideas out there. There are many things out there that people are doing using SaaS model, and you have investors putting hand over fist, throwing funds at these companies because they know that these companies are actually going to grow fast. So what's your idea? How can you turn your own business into a subscription service? If you'd like to know more, we're planning to organize a masterclass on SaaS, subscription as a service. So please feel free to drop us an email or send a message to join this masterclass on SaaS. In addition, I should also mention that GetFundedAfrica actually has a course which we call the fundraising course. And in the fundraising course, you can actually learn about how venture capital evolved and learn how to actually raise funds yourself. So that's it, folks, for this week. I mean, for GetFundedAfrica, we are trying to enable as many startups as possible to grow, to raise funds, to scale, to overcome the challenges that affect African startups. So I hope that you've enjoyed this week's episode. And please visit our website, getfundedafrica.com. Would love to hear from you, would love to assist you and be part of your journey as you grow. Happy fundraising.